This is Moscow, this is a Russian World Cup, and you just can't tell, frankly, where the sport ends, the politics begins, where the politics ends and the sport starts. That is pretty much what we expected, and so it's proved on an extraordinary day, frankly. Let's do some sport, shall we? Russia on the pitch, confounding all expectations and dismantling a Saudi Arabia team which had been quietly talked up in not a few places before the tournament began. Off it, Vladimir Putin chooses today of all days to suddenly announce that, guess what? I've invited Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader, here to Moscow in September. The day begins 7 a.m. in central Moscow, where the key thorn in his flesh, the opposition leader Alex Thomson, is released after 1 month in jail. Again, curious timing, don't you think? And to cap it all, we have the veteran British LGBT protester just off Red Square, also getting himself into a spot of bother, as I'm sure he knew he would someday.
Russia, 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 Putin!
Some just love to mix their sport and politics. It's finally begun. One of the most watched sporting events on earth, whether you love it or hate it. At $14 billion, this the most expensive World Cup ever staged. Opening proceedings on the pitch, Russia versus Saudi Arabia.
Россия! Россия!
Russia's Interior Ministry has instructed all police departments throughout the country not to report what it calls bad news during the entire duration of the World Cup. And the man at the top has got into the spirit of that with some positive news. Vladimir Putin says he's invited the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to Russia in September.
In keeping with this mood, one of President Putin's loudest critics, Alex Thomson, was released from prison after a month inside just this morning. You see, it's a maelstrom here of business, sport and politics. In demand, a former prime minister and now chairman of Russia's energy giant Gazprom, Viktor Zubkov. They're a major World Cup sponsor. We asked him to respond to critics who say Russia shouldn't be holding the World Cup because of its human rights record.
Let them say what they want. And we'll keep on playing football.
And yet, beyond the colour and razzmatazz, like all World Cups, this is an exclusive party. Tickets start around 120 quid in a country where most people only make around 400 a month. No wonder many matches are still not sold out, including England's opening game. And you don't have to go far to hear the sense of exclusion some Russians feel. In a bar just a few hundred metres from the opening ceremony stadium, we meet psychologist and LGBT campaigner Zoya Matisova.
Have you personally been threatened at all?
I don't know. I was attacked, for example, 6 months ago.
Really?
Really.
Yeah.
After
In the street, or?
Yes, on the street we made a psychological conference, and some homophobic persons wait us after it.
Right.
And it's usual situation for LGBT person in our country.
She described watching the World Cup in Russia as like peering in on a parallel universe.
It's some kind of parallel, because our lives sometimes don't cross. We don't have any connection. It's absolutely different way for our government, for our big bosses from Kremlin.
Over near Red Square, meanwhile, the British LGBT campaigner Peter Tatchell was mounting a one-man protest about what he calls Russia's clampdown on gay rights, and he was arrested for doing so and later released. That said, those able to afford tickets, airfares and all the rest are truly up for a festival of sport, of course, and one huge rolling street party across this country.